As she waits, hoping that Waste Management will come, day after day after day, garbage continues to pile up. And it's not just Linda who's dealing with this. It's nearly the whole block, house after house, of overflowing garbage cans. But the hope is that it all goes back to normal this Wednesday.
Hit. And that's how it's done.
Well, Abby here is a great tool in the case of an avalanche and can help rescue you if you're trapped. Her main tool is education, teaching snow safety and prevention. Right, Abby? Good afternoon. I'm on the corner of 8th Ave and Burns Road in Spokane Valley. You can see it's a neighborhood we're in, and there's a brush fire here. It burned about an acre to an acre and a half, took out a shed, but luckily no one was injured. It just goes to show you that these wildfires and brush fires can happen a lot closer to home than many people realize. A large part of protecting your home and your family is making sure you have 30 feet of defensible space outside your home, meaning there's no fuels in your yard. And when they say fuels, they're talking about anything that could catch fire, like these dead pine needles or even this dead pine tree that fell from the wind. So the message is, make sure you get this stuff cleaned up to protect your home. But it's always a good idea to have a go bag just in case you need to make a quick evacuation because of a fire. For things like extra clothing, batteries for the flashlights you're gonna bring, map with 2 evacuation routes on them, first aid kit of course, and non-perishable foods and water.
Yeah, we're probably just going to find him crashed out here pretty soon because he blew through a red light.
We've been having issues over at Shopco with Fast and Furious, the street racers.
And so a multi-agency task force was born, a 4-week initiative to put an end to the recklessness.
100 miles an hour on Division through all this traffic.
Somewhere near Northtown. He might be in the curb lane, he might be on the sidewalk. I think there's a white and blue bike.
Hearing it's one thing, seeing it is another.
Again, probably 80 miles an hour. It's more of a dirt bike than a ground. Yeah, motor 570 just went by up to Fox 12. Still headed north now. We're not going to catch him. Negative. He was showing off for all the people at the Maverick.
Incidents like that, we are not gonna chase this guy. He's obviously trying to bait us into a pursuit.
And though officers do their best to avoid high-speed pursuits, in just 3 weeks they've made 15 reckless driving arrests, 5 for DUIs, and given 60 speeding tickets. In all the speeding instances, people were going at least 17 miles an hour over the limit.
Alberta experiences, there's motorcycles racing back and forth doing wheelies.
We're at the first stop of the night. They just pulled someone over, gave them a field sobriety test. I can't quite see what they're doing right now. But again, they're trying to combat this street racing problem that we're seeing in Spokane before the weather gets nicer out and more people start coming out.
We'll push them out of the city over to the county, and that's why we've invited WSP and Spokane County Sheriff's Office, because we recognize the need that it's not just an isolated SPD problem. This is a problem that goes countywide.
Lieutenant Myers said it's a lot like playing whack-a-mole. When you crack down in one spot on Division, problems pop up in other spots. But police are catching on to the popular hangouts.
In order to help combat that, we try to have the neighborhood resource officer reach out to them and post the no trespassing, the no loitering.
Which is how police were able to disperse the rowdy crowd at the Maverick on Division, where at least 50 cars, bikes, and trucks decided to set up shop.
We're not here to be the Debbie Downer police. We just want to make sure everyone's safe. And if we do have a victim of a crime and people, they want them trespass off their property, we got to do our due diligence and do our job to assist them in that.
Lieutenant Meyer said the multi-agency effort has been working and hopes to keep the reckless driving out of Spokane so that you can get home safe. Reporting in Spokane, Alex Peebles, KHQ Local News.
In my heart, I know she's the real thing, but now it's got to the point that I like to find out.
Nearly a year of communicating through Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, and Google Hangouts, David, a 70-year-old widower, thought he was falling for Swiss pop star Beatrice Egli.
I guess because I was so involved with her, I didn't want to realize all the red flags that were coming up.
Things like asking for money repeatedly. And then she went on to say, please, dear, I really need you to get me a gift card of $5,000 today after work. And telling him to sell everything he owned.
I told her, I said, you have to remember, I got a little dog too and stuff like this. She said, no, what you should do is sell your dog.
But maybe the biggest red flag, a trip that she convinced him to take in October.
Everything was all set up. I had my 2 suitcases packed. And she told me at that time, I'm going to come with the plane and we plan to land at 9 o'clock your time.
But there never was a plane. David waited for 3 hours. This person, pretending to be a Swiss pop star, convincing David to sell his house, his belongings, and leave behind his beloved dog. A dog that David and his wife cherished up until the day she died. And he would have done it too, until someone stepped in. His realtor, Shannon Bragg. She listed his house, but then learned that the money from the sale may end up in the wrong hands.
Whoever was on the other line was asking him to, suddenly the money wasn't just going to be in his name. It had to be in some other name. He finally had a red flag that hit a little bit, and he called me, and we took it off the market on Saturday.
Another red flag, but still not enough for David to call it quits.
It infuriated me over the last couple of days was that someone was doing this to him. And that's where I just needed someone to help bridge that so he could see it the way I could see it.
Which is why Shannon turned to KHQ. What I think's happening is I think this person's extorting you. After about an hour of talking and going through messages from the last year, David started to see things differently.
You show me the proof now.
I'm sorry I had to show you the proof.
No, but so her. Wow.
But now you can move forward. You have your dog.
Yes, I can.
You still have your house.
Yeah.
Well, today we're spawning some fish at the local hatchery here. That's the DFW hatchery here in Spokane. Any anglers out there, they're doing this for you. The more fish they spawn, the more fish that you can catch and you can keep. So that's what we're doing now. That's why I got this get up on. We're gonna go get in the pond and start spawning some fish.
Oh, I hope these don't leak.
It's best practice to just button all these things. Just button them all the way.
Yeah, then once you get in the pond, it'll come unbuttoned.
And now that I'm all geared up,
Ready to spawn some fish.
step 1, find and separate the female fish that are ripe and ready to spawn. In other words, it's time to get our hands dirty.
Grab a female by its tail, give it a gent squeeze. If you don't get anything, no eggs, meaning, put it right down behind the powder.
Okay.
Get a ripe one, like Danny just has, you put it in the box, and we're counting them.
Hatchery specialist Jeff Lombard says we went through 2,500 fish in a matter of a couple hours. A glamorous job? Not necessarily.
I need windshield wipers.
But without this work,
There wouldn't be any fish available for anglers in any of these lakes around here.
making this work crucial for recreational fishing in the inland Northwest.
So now we've separated all the female fish that are ripe, meaning the ones that have eggs that are ready to spawn here. So now we're gonna gather those, and Jeff here and his team, they're gonna basically get those eggs out now. And down on the other end here, they're gathering all the sperm from the males, and then, well, you put it all together and you have fish.
Grab your needle.
Grab my needle.
Lombard and his team use pressurized oxygen to push the eggs out of the fish. It's more efficient than squeezing them out and easier on the fish. Lombard says they get about 3,000 eggs out of each female fish. And after that, we move on to the males.
So these are the males, and they're just spraying the sperm out of them. And Jeff, you said it's 1 to 1, so
One male to one female.
one male to one female. It's basically the same thing that we did with the females, but just something else comes out.
And trying to keep a hold of the fish, well, that's not as easy as it looks. Next, there's one final step. Mixing it all together.
Feels weird.
We just dump in the milk from the males into the eggs, mix them up, add a little bit of saltwater solution to speed up the fertilization process, and then we'll let them sit for 5 minutes, and then we'll lay them down to hatch.
And that's it. It's as simple as that. We just collected nearly 600,000 eggs, and in about 30 days or so, well, those eggs will be little rainbow trout, and they'll go into these ponds over here when they're ready. Now, as far as for the fish where we took the eggs and took the sperm from, well, those fish will be put into local lakes come the springtime. But for now, reporting in Spokane, Alex Peebles, KHQ Local News.